Well, proposed rule changes don't get stupider than the golden at bat, but we have a golden at bat right now with the return of Miller Thomas. It's not even his turn in the lineup, but he's coming up. We need a hit. It's a Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to a Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover. This is either the podcast where we talk about all of Major League Baseball or the podcast where we talk about your 2023 National League champion, Arizona Diamondbacks. You can still say it. It's still,
Yeah, it's not as fun. It's a
it's
couple
not as
years
fun.
removed, yeah.
I know. What are you going to do? I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. That's my buddy right over there. What's your name?
Miller Thomas, host of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, of course.
Yeah, and sporting different facial hair than normal. You're looking very like you could play for the 1978 New York Yankees right now.
Wow.
You follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Blue Sky, Sully Baseball Podcast, Instagram. Miller, where can they find you?
At Career Times 24, still on good old X because I am just too lazy to leave. Or you can look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram for the show handle as well.
And today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. I got to get this thing out of the way because a couple of people asked me. Yes, I hate the move. The Red Sox signed Aroldis Chapman, possibly my least favorite player in baseball. He is a terrible postseason player and an even worse human being. I'm a firm believer, one strike you're out in domestic violence situations, and this guy did some terrible things and got virtually no punishment. He can virtually nothing, became a millionaire several times over, was allowed to have a redemptive arc by being part of the Cubs. The best thing about Aroldis Chapman is we get to see the clips of him letting up the Rajai Davis home run and the Jose Altuve home run. And he has blown saves for several different franchises over the years. And the team I grew up for signed this piece of garbage. And so I'm not happy about it. I hope he's DFA'd by May. He's a very hard person to root for. By the way, I said the same thing when the Red Sox had Stephen Wright. And thankfully he was hurt for the postseason, so I didn't have to watch his terrible humanness on the team. But F that guy. And he's been bounced around, including with the Rangers a few years ago, and I hope his career is over.
Yeah,
That's
and
all I have to say
surprising to
about that.
see. Yeah, surprising to see the Red Sox go after someone who struggled with the Yankees not that long ago. Now you want to kind of take over the Yankees leftovers with all the issues from the past as well. Just a weird signing by Boston there.
Yeah, there's no upside to this, and my only hope is that he is DFA'd by May. All right, but I just had more than one person asked about that, and so I had to address that right off the top. But Miller, let's talk a little bit about the golden at bat, which has been floating around in the Twitterverse and in the Blue Sky verse and in all the what's it called, the social media world, that the idea of people are getting excited about the golden at bat. And if by people you mean Rob Manfred and nobody else, why don't you explain to people who thankfully don't know about it what this, and I don't mean to get my own personal feelings about it, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Tell people what it is.
Yeah, for me, it's very easy to relate. I go to ASU, or I used to go to ASU, graduated alumni now. But, party school ASU, we played a little beer pong back in the day. And sometimes when your team is struggling, you need a little celeb shot, right? You got to tap in your friend who might be good to give you that. Maybe they got one cup left. You need them to hit that shot. So you tap in your friend. That is what Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball essentially want to do. Let's say it's ninth inning, you're down 2 outs, you're down a run, and you need a big hit with the bases loaded to give you that walk-off hit. But guess what? Shohei Ohtani, he already bat 4 batters ago. He's not due up in the lineup. Now with the go to at bat, the Dodgers can say, you know what? It didn't matter if Ohtani went up 3 batters ago. We're hitting the go to at bat and we're bringing up Ohtani right now in this situation where we need him to get a big hit to deliver the win. So that is essentially what Rob Manfred wants to do. He wants the celeb shot for Major League Baseball. At any point, you could call up any player, most likely your best player, to take a big at bat for you when your team needs it the most.
I hate when rule changes like this are made by people who clearly don't like baseball. Whoever came up with that clearly does not like baseball and is trying to attract people who are not baseball fans. I mean, it's not my opinion, it's a fact. Whoever came up with this does not like baseball. Now, there have been some new innovations in baseball. I've liked some of them. And some things I have been against initially. I was against the wild card initially. I now love it. I was against interleague play. I love it. I was never against instant replay. I was screaming for it. And I like the pitch clock. I think the pitch clock is great. Keep the game moving. Come on. If nothing else, just get the front. Let's go. Let's keep the game moving. The runner on second base is a travesty to the point where I no longer want games to go in extra innings. Extra inning games are no longer exciting because you don't earn a run. You just, okay, I got a hit. That's the end of the game. Okay, that was exciting, I think. I don't know. But there is a wonderful thing about baseball that if you do this, you're ruining it. The lineup. You can't always throw it to your best player. You can't always throw it to Jordan. You can't always throw it to Jerry Rice. And what that means, more than any other sport, comes the unlikely hero. The unlikely hero, there's like, oh, we're at this point in the lineup, and all of a sudden, Alec Thomas on your Diamondbacks
Yeah.
is the one who hits the home run. They can't say, oh, set up Ketel Marte. It's the World Series hit that won the greatest World Series I ever saw in my life was in 1991. Was it by Kirby Puckett? Was it by Kent Herbeck? It was by pinch hitter Gene Larkin. That's why you would have someone like Billy Bates. Do you remember Billy Bates? You don't remember because it was in
No,
1990. He
not
was
me.
the third string second baseman who came up and got a key hit against Dennis Eckersley in the World Series to set up a game-winning rally. When the Braves were 1 out away from losing the NLCS in 1992, they couldn't bring up Ron Gant. They couldn't bring up Justice. They couldn't bring up Terry Pendleton. They had Francisco Cabrera, and it was Cabrera who got the big hit. It was Steve Pearce in the World Series for the Red Sox in 2018. It was, I mean, it was, I'm just going off the top of my head on some of these here. Mickey Hatcher for the Dodgers, Edgar Renteria getting the big hits for both the Marlins and the Giants. It was Craig Counsell being part of not one, but two bottom of the ninth game seven come from behind rallies in the World Series. It was Eddie Rosario for the Braves just a couple of years ago.
Yep.
It was Tommy Edman this year. That the idea of, like, when you saw that ninth inning that led to the Freddie Freeman homer, and the Dodgers were playing, they had the bottom of the lineup coming up. So this idea of Dodgers, you got to get at least one runner on, and then you get to the Otanis and everything like that. Baseball has more unlikely Bernie Carbo type heroes, the Bucky Dent type heroes. Bucky Dent, Aaron Boone, who had those great moments. They weren't the stars of that team. Bob Levin couldn't just put Reggie Jackson up there. It was Bucky Dent's turn. Joe Torre couldn't put Matsui or Jeter. I almost said A-Rod. A-Rod wasn't on that team. But like the turns have to come around, and that's part of the great thing of baseball. And I'm telling you something. One of the things, and I've said this before, Lord of the Rings, Harry
Okay.
Potter, nerdy things like, oh, no one wants to see that's just for nerds and kids. But they made it so the fans of those things were so enthused when those films came out. They catered to the fans, and people wanted to be part of that. They didn't put a middle finger up to the fans and make it a musical or sort of make it silly. They catered to them and say, make it so the fans love it and that people want to be part of that community. Changes like this are a middle fingers to baseball fans and turn them off because it takes away one of the wonderful things about the sport.
Yep. And we
Well, actually had a commissioner, they would know that.
Yeah, and also just like on the other like side of the coin we're talking about, like talking about the likely hero, like if you saw Otani every single game for 162 just go up in the biggest bat, it'll kind of lose the novelty. The fact that sometimes it's like, okay, going to this inning down or one, I know Otani's the fifth man up in the lineup. I have to get to Otani for my team to potentially win. If I can get to Otani, I know my team's chances of winning is that much greater. I think looking at the game from that perspective at times where it's like the novelty of it. If I see Otani every single game, it's going to lose the excitement of him going up there to a bat. And then also, let's say Otani or guys like Otani, Aaron Judges, let's say they struggle in those go down bats. Think about the legacy and how they're talked about when talking about those MVP awards. If Otani's like 0 for 50 in his first go down bats, then it's like, is this guy really the GOAT? Is he really as good as we discussed? So I also think there's like another side where it actually hurts some of these star players if they have to go up in these biggest pressurized moments every single game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's from someone who doesn't like it. And by the way, you had Rajay Davis, Jose Altuve, and Mike Brousseau. Remember Mike Brousseau? Mike Brousseau was a unheralded infielder who got a huge postseason home run off of Aroldis Chapman. Only one of those players who hit big home runs in the postseason against Aroldis Chapman were players that you would expect. Altuve. But Davis wasn't someone you would expect to. And Brousseau was not someone you would expect to do that. And you really, really want to take that away from the game. You want to take one of the things that makes the game great away from it. Well, it is a commissioner who is sitting and fiddling while two teams play in minor league baseball stadiums next year. So I don't know. Maybe he does. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at Game Time. Hey, I've used Game Time before. They came through for me big time when I went to see the National League Championship Series. I saw the Dodgers clinch against the Mets in Game 6. Got a great deal and great seats through Game Time. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks that gives you curation to make it easy to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. You get seat views, a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And you got the Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Oh, wait, I actually used Game Time. I used Game Time when I went to the NLCS, went to watch the Dodgers beat the Mets.
Yeah,
Um,
I
let's
love that.
I'm gonna use that as a transition.
Mhm,
Um, we're gonna talk D-backs and what I think they need to do this off season, but I do want to bring up the Snell signing
mhm,
because Snell signed with the Dodgers, and a lot of people were screaming bloody murder, saying this is why they need a salary cap because the same teams win every year. Forgetting the fact that since 2010, 17 different teams have won the pennant. Um, but Mm, I know you may have a different point of view than me because
mhm,
you root for a National League West team. Um, but that being said, I don't understand the people who get mad at the owners who spend money. I think you should get mad at the owners who don't. They don't need a salary cap. You need a salary floor. Do you know what teams could sign him? Cleveland. Cleveland's owners are multi-billionaires. And if they spent just a little bit more, the Indians or Guardians or whatever they're called now will have won a championship during this run. And there's no excuse for it because they're a team that is really in a winnable American League is really like three good play, not even great players, three good players away from being a legitimate every year winning the pennant contender. And they don't do that. The Dodgers put a winning product on the field that people want to see. That doesn't win the World Series every year, just as Diamondback fans. But isn't that what an owner's supposed to do? And shouldn't you be mad at the other owners for not going after Snell or Freeman or whatever? There was
Yes.
no reason I know you are not necessarily thrilled to see Snell sign with the Dodgers, but that contract could blow up in their face too, because Snell has had two great seasons and some very good ones, but this could very easily blow up in their face. So, anyway, tell me your thoughts because I don't get why there's vitriol for the owners who spend as opposed to the owners who don't spend.
Yeah, for me, it's like a two-pronged thing. The first prong is, like you said, other owners definitely need to spend more. We see so many teams around Major League Baseball who just sit on their hands when it comes to free agency. I mean, the D-backs finally are a team that spends, but previously they were not. We've seen teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cleveland Guardians, the Oakland A's. Like, we've had so many discussions with these teams who are good year after year, but seem to always live on the margins, right? People want to know, Chicago Cubs, why do you only go after like these mid-tier pitchers? What happened to going after the guys like you, Darvish, who actually, helped you win games and stuff in the regular season? So there definitely needs to be more of an impetus of these teams to spend money when it comes to free agency, because the Dodgers are doing that. And the Dodgers are not doing anything wrong in terms of how they're building the team, the rules that they're doing. Like everything that the Dodgers are doing is legal. But I will say it's not cool to see Shohei Ohtani sign for 750 million and only make 2 million a year. Blake Snell, here's another 80 million deferred. Teoscar, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. Yes, the Dodgers are playing by the rules, but I think baseball needs to reevaluate itself and say, maybe this shouldn't be right. Maybe we need to put some limits in place for the defer of money, whether it's how much money a player's salary can be deferred, how many players on your roster can be deferred. Like, I think there's way too much leeway right now when it comes to deferral money for a roster like the Dodgers, a team with unlimited resources. To once you have the Otanis in the building, once you get some of these star players in the building like Mookie's and Freddie's, it's easier to start recruiting. And when you say, listen, we got all the money in the world, we can outbid everyone else, and we don't even need to pay you right now. You can wait until you're retired to get the money on the back end. I'm not sure every franchise in Major League Baseball is in that kind of stability as the LA Dodgers. I think Major League Baseball needs to help itself a little bit and put some rules in place to limit some of the deferral money. I don't need a salary cap or a salary floor, but deferral term limits, I'm okay with that. Even in the NBA, we've seen them with the new CBA. They're trying to slow down the advent of super teams. It's a lot harder to get three superstars on the same roster. I think Major League Baseball needs to take a look at itself to hopefully curtail. I don't mind the Dodgers going out there and signing all those players. I just want them to get paid right now instead of 2045.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question here.
Okay.
You brought up the super teams. I didn't. Were the super teams bad for the NBA?
It depends who you ask. I mean, the ratings weren't the best during the super teams stuff. Like when
Okay.
we tabs every year, people were a little turned off a little bit by like year
Okay.
3, year 4. But that's also
And
because it was
and,
the
and
same teams every year. It was like a parody thing. It's not
okay,
like,
so
yeah, yeah.
um do you do now I do get what you're saying about I'm vehemently anti-salary cap.
Me
Vehemently.
too. I don't want.
Um because I don't believe these owners are broke. The when they get their chance, they collude. I don't believe a single owner is broke. I think every owner is swimming in money. Okay. I don't buy any of that. If it is, open your books. Okay. I also think that the owners who don't spend money are doing the bigger harm to the game than the ones who are. But I will just to show I'm not completely uh, you know, Norma Ray right here. Nice reference you don't get. Um, I know it was a 1970s movie about unions.
Okay,
Um,
I'll
I'm
look
a
it up.
proud public school teacher and union member, but I can understand saying, hey, you can only defer so much money.
Mhm.
You can only, I can see that saying, hey, do you know what? No, you can't have it be that, I could see that being a, uh, something that, or that you tax the living snot out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
But we also see like the luxury tax being paid and the owners pocketing it.
Mhm.
We see what that was happening with the A's when, like, the owner of the A's and the owner of the Cleveland, these are the cities where you should be angry at, not Los Angeles. And if you say it's not fair, then split some of that money. And I think there should be an entry fee. I should think there should be an absolute salary floor. I can't go to Vegas. And by the way, the more we're reading about what's happening out of Vegas right now is oh yeah, it's going to be 150 million, 170. It's going to be 1.5 billion, 1.7 billion. Yeah, we're good for it up to 1.1 billion. What's going on? What's happening here? I still do not believe they're going to build a stadium in Las Vegas, but I digress.
Yeah.
Um, you got to have a salary floor. Yeah, I can't go to Vegas and go into the high roller rooms. Walk in there, the high roller rooms where Andy Garcia would be playing in Ocean's 11, and say, "Hi, I'm Sully. I have 5 chips. May I play poker with you?" No, there's a limited there's a what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say entry fee, but it's like there's a house minimum. There
Yeah.
should be a house minimum on your salary, and there should be an audit for if you take any money for the luxury tax, you have to show that's going into your roster. Not necessarily the free agents, but maybe the international free agents, maybe the signing your own players or whatever. You have to show how that money is going to improve your team. And it's not. And that's what people should be mad at. Not that Blake Snell is saying, "Hey, I will sign here."
Yeah.
That to me, I'm that's this ends my TED talk.
And I want the audience to know I'm not upset at the LA Dodgers. I'm more upset at Major League Baseball for having rules in place where this can happen. The Dodgers just saw an opportunity. They saw like a little loophole in the system. They said, hey, we don't actually have to pay any of these guys right now. We could wait 30 years and pay all these guys. So I'm not mad at people finding loopholes in the system that are legal and they take advantage of it. I just want baseball to look at itself in the mirror and say, you know what? Maybe we got to fix a couple of things because stuff like that, you shouldn't have a payroll in 2045 higher than half the league right now.
That's right. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Diamondbacks,
Ooh.
a team that, yes, it ended badly, but remember, a win here or a win there, and they would have been in the playoffs last year. All right, let's hear from our friends over at FanDuel. You know what FanDuel is. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel. What's going to happen this season? Are the Chiefs going to win it again? Or one of the 4 mediocre teams in the NFC West? Which one is going to get to the playoffs? Or will one of them run the table and get all the way to the Super Bowl? I don't know, but if you know, maybe you should go to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get 150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, I think the Seahawks are going to do it. You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page when you place your bets. Just visit fanduel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's fanduel.com. Never waste a hunch and never waste a moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. All right. Now, the great weird final day of the season where the Mets and the Braves had that wild doubleheader, and the home run was hit by, what was it, Lindor hit the big home run. Um, Lest we forget, there was a scenario where the Diamondbacks would have had a playoff spot
Mhm.
in that final. I'm not trying to rub it in your face, but as everyone's getting all droopy dog about the Diamondbacks having a disappointing year, they won more games last year than the team that went to the World Series. They were an 89 win team last year.
We
They
we
were
led
they
we
were
led
they were
baseball in
not a
runs
bad
scored.
club.
We're the number one scoring team in baseball, Sully. We
Yeah,
should have made the postseason. I don't know how we missed.
yeah. And the team that snuck past them on that final day got to Game 6 of the National League Championship Series.
Mhm.
Um, Now, a couple of things happened. Obviously, Corbin Carroll, who led the league in triples, I'm
Always.
trying to see, had a sophomore slump, but their offense was terrific.
Mhm.
I mean, they're probably gonna lose Christian Walker, but their offense was terrific. Um, a lot of their pitching was up and down. Obviously, their bullpen, and
Mhm.
obviously their season they got from Jordan Montgomery
Horrendous.
was horrific.
Yeah.
Was really horrific. Um, what do you think? I mean, this is still a team whose window of opportunity is open.
Mhm.
This is still a team that if you just look at how they scored runs, this should have been a 90 something win team. If Jordan Montgomery was mediocre, they would have gone to the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much if everyone in their rotation would just like league average to like their career, like not even be like better or worse, just like average to what they are. This D-backs team I won like 99 games last year because you look at the rotation, that's kind of like where it starts and finishes. Like Zach Gallen was good, but he wasn't great. Missed a lot of time that season with injury. Merrill Kelly missed a lot of time with injury.
Mhm.
Never really got into a groove. Erod missed a lot of time with injury. He was terrible. Same with Jordan Montgomery. He was bad. The D-backs best starter for most of the season was Ryan Nelson the second half of the year. It was Brandon Pfaadt
Yeah.
the first half, Ryan Nelson the second half, which was insane. Like to see those two guys developing, but in a rotation with four guys who would be like, oh, they could be like a one or two in like any other rotation with Gallen through Monty. And it was Pfaadt and Ryan Nelson who were your two best guys. I still believe in this D-backs team bounce back potential a lot because of that rotation. Just get healthy, get to league average. There's going to be a lot better next year. Yes, Christian Walker might leave, but I'm still holding out hope that he can come back. Even if he doesn't, the D-backs are going to go out there and have a contingency plan in place. Maybe that's
Mhm.
trading for a guy like Yandy Diaz from Tampa Bay. Maybe
Yep.
just signing someone like Carlos Santana and like platooning him with like Pavin Smith, who had like a decent year. Like the D-backs are not going to just sit on their hands this offseason and be like, oh, bye, Jock, bye, Gritchick, bye, Christian Walker. Like they're going to get aggressive. They're talking about trading Jordan Montgomery, potentially trading maybe some of these outfielders like Jake McCarthy. Who knows? They're still going to go out there and look at the free agent market, maybe a reunion with Paul Goldschmidt. Like this D-backs team know they're coming off a super disappointing year where they had a great season in terms of runs, but the pitching held them back a little bit. I think they're still going to get aggressive, even if a guy like Christian Walker might leave this free agency.
You could look at, I mean, you also there's the Jordan Lawlers of the world who are sort of looming
Yeah.
to be part of the team. And you have they have a couple of young pitchers who are coming up. It's so funny that you and I were very positive about the D-backs chances going into this year because I said they went to the World Series last year. They went to World Series in 23, and they added Jordan Montgomery and Eduardo Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
And we're thinking, like, there you go. And they were both, I mean, they combined for an ERA in the fives.
It was like having two
And
Mad Buns basically in your rotation, which
yeah,
absolutely tanked the D-backs.
yeah. And if you had told me that if you had told us at the beginning of the year what was going to keep Arizona from the playoffs were the combination of Jordan Montgomery and Eduardo Rodriguez, that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, if one of those two had just an okay year, they would have finished ahead of the Mets in Atlanta.
Yeah. And it's so crazy to see. And I still think even if guys like Walker and Peterson leave, like this offense can still be pretty close to where it was last year because like you look at the second half of guys like Corbin Carroll, who rediscovered his power swing, plus 500 slug in the second half. I think he had like 18 or more home runs. Like he went on a massive power surge in the second half. And of course, we got Babe Ruth Suarez at third base, who was also fantastic in the second half of the season. Like you said, we might have a couple guys internally. Don't sleep on Justin Martinez, who's coming off a great season. And we added AJ Puck at the deadline. A full year of those two guys in the back end of your bullpen, and maybe add one more guy. Maybe it's via trade like Ryan Hesley, Devin Williams. Maybe you go out there and sign someone on the free agent market. There's some couple good relievers out there. D-backs get two more back end relievers to go with this lineup. Maybe you go out and bring back like a Randall Grichuk or somebody, plus a Carlos Santana, trade a Jordan Montgomery, maybe for a reliever, or maybe you could try to find a first baseman or something. Who knows? Maybe Tampa Bay is willing to do Yandy Diaz for Jordan Montgomery. I don't know. But this D-backs team, Mike Hazen, he is an aggressive guy. You look at the last few years,
Yes.
he usually likes to make a big splash play before the winter meeting. So I would keep an eye on the D-backs. Winter meetings December 9th. I would keep an eye on the D-backs over the next course of the week.
And I think, you know what? I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. I wouldn't have this guy necessarily be the closer because I wouldn't trust him as the closer, but Kenley Jansen's available. He's not going to break the bank. Have at least, it will help them having a couple of veterans in their bullpen. And that's the strategy I think the Angels should do too. But the Diamondbacks are, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and Atlanta are probably going to be the three most talented teams, and maybe the Mets if they make a big move. But the D-backs, again, they're going to be a 90-something win team next year. And with the right move and just find that room. And you're right. It was one of the really cool things, about Hazen as the GM of the team or whatever the hell his title is.
Yeah.
He's not shy to make a move.
Mm-mm.
He's not shy to spin the Rubik's Cube because he knows they stumbled into the World Series a few years ago. And the window of opportunity is right now. The Martes, you're hoping you're going to get, if you get a bounce back season from Corbin Carroll and Eduardo Rodriguez is merely mediocre, that's like making two acquisitions
Yeah.
right there.
That's so true. And if a guy like Jordan Lawler or just like one other guy pops for you, maybe a random reliever from internal, from spring training pops for you, like that's all you really need.
Yeah, or a fading starter who they throw in the bullpen, kind of like what happened with Weaver and the Yankees this year. I
Oh,
don't mean to rub that in your face.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, where did this guy come from? All of a sudden, he's now closing out games on the way to the World Series. Like, we could
Yeah,
definitely use
he's
that guy.
clinching the pennant, and I was thinking, like, oh, where was there must be a Diamondback? Oh yeah, he was. Jeez.
So sad to see. No one even knew who Luke Weaver was during that home run. I'm like, oh my god, where was this man?
All right, we sit there with Bumgarner. Well, look at Miller Thomas. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, please follow me on Twitter at CraigThomas24 for the personal account. Look up Locked On Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram. We're on all podcasting platforms, wherever you stream your podcasts. And please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube.
And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully at Sully Baseball and Blue Sky Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the National League West, the single stupidest potential rule, and the fact why the Diamondbacks don't sleep on them. If you sleep on them, you'll be like the Phillies a few years ago. There's been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover. He's Miller Thomas. I'm your pal Sully. Let's fist pump. Come on, give it right in there.